Main concepts of today's conversation are going to be built off of these main questions. Is easygoing confidence or fear? What has staying silent cost you? All these questions kind of align back to the conversation of being nice or being weak or being kind. And I think this is going to be a great conversation for the people out there, the men out there that are struggling with being nice men, for men out there that are struggling with being the societal term of pick me.
She struggled. She was a single parent with me and my sister. I don't want you doing this. So I'm like, nah, I'm going to do it different.
It doesn't matter how many likes you get. It doesn't matter how many followers you get. If you know you're working towards something, literally almost impossible if you keep going and you're working diligent.
There's no shortcuts to anything.
For sure.
You're all into it. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, you're going to learn something out of it.
You just have to keep going, and it has to be within to know, like, in a humble way.
Some trees and mountains, man. Too, that adds to it.
Yeah, it's a good viewpoint, bro.
Absolutely.
I think it allows us to enjoy life and, be able to put life in perspective in those times that we're not doing good or we're working, constantly working on the things that we continue to talk about being better at as men. And I think, it provides a perfect segue into today's conversation when we're talking about niceness being connected to a part and a component of being weak. And I know weak can be a harsh term for some people, but you got to strengthen yourself in the idea of how you move, how you communicate, and the principled lifestyle that we're trying to get guys to understand that they should be living. And it's all built around moving a certain way. I think you said it best before in previous episodes of we want to be good men, we want to be kind men, but you don't ever want to be nice. And I think that's a conversation that I want to revisit today, bro, because we get into a comfortable standpoint to where we tell people what they want to hear. That's a coined phrase. And I think sometimes the situation doesn't always call for that phrase. And I think for me, after reading and doing a lot of thoughtfulness, prayer, understanding what it looks like to have come from a lifestyle like that, it's important for me to be able to be direct and respectful with everything that I'm saying. Because the more clear that we are as men, the easier it is for us to open that gate up for people to be transparent and honest with us. So I guess the first question I want to ask you today, bro, is what do you think the main issue is with men who are nice, struggle with in not being able to communicate how they really feel?
I think the underlying issue is probably like a fear of like not being liked.
Oh yeah, I like that.
Because when I look at certain situations to where I've seen men be nice, it's almost as if they're doing things to be accepted. So what would be the antithesis of being accepted? It would be being rejected. And being rejected is somebody basically essentially not wanting you, even if it's just in a certain entity, in a certain space, in a certain environment. And I think that's the overall covering of when like men are just nice or they lead with being nice. Because a lot of times it's in lieu of or in spaces of when you need to maybe be firm or when you need to be decision oriented or when you maybe need to say something that somebody isn't going to necessarily be, not that they're not going to be receptive to it, but they might be taken aback by what you have to say. And so a lot of times guys will be just nice about things. And it's like, I believe that anything can be said. It's just a matter of how it's said. So with that being said, you don't need to be nice. You just have to work on how you say what you need to say. Work on conveying a message properly to where it's received how you want it to be received so you can be who you want to be within that. You don't have to be nice and, I just want to say this and give this disclaimer before. No, say what you want to say. But just say it in a way to where it's obviously it's thought-provoking. It is, you're not trying to be mean. You're not trying to like downplay somebody or you're not trying to demean somebody, but you're trying to convey what you're trying to say. And irregardless of how that person takes it, if they can tell through your tone, through, intellectual thought, people can tell like, I know he's just expressing something. And then you can also tell when somebody's trying to like walk on eggshells. And that's what being nice is. So yeah, I would say that.
I think people's feelings do need to be hurt more often, bro.
I would agree
we
too.
live in a society where it's a nice society where we try to portray it as, hey, the way to win in life is by being nice.
Yeah.
And that's why I think the word is thrown around and it's not as useful and as effective as people think. I find it that sometimes the best growth I've ever had in my life has come from moments that I've been hurt or my feelings have been hurt. And I'm not saying that you always have to live off of that type of mentality, but bro, if you are around people that you say you care about, right? There's no reason why you shouldn't feel the want to let them know what's really going on.
For sure.
And I agree. I think there's a certain way to communicate and talk with people. But regardless, even if the mark was missed in how you say something, if it was still transparent and coming from a place of honesty and love, your feelings are going to be hurt regardless if it was delivered in a soft way.
For sure.
They're going to be hurt.
Sure.
It shouldn't feel good to be told something that you're not doing good or something that you're lacking or something that you need to grow on. It shouldn't feel good to have to look at that and be like, ooh, okay. It's going to feel good when you make that transition or you work on it.
Right.
And I think more often than not, we always feel like, well, we got to feel good to do something. No, bro. Most of the time, we don't ever feel that great to go to the gym. That's true. So if that's what we're doing, it should be the same thing with communicating with people and understanding like, hey, what I might tell you might hurt. That's fine for the disclaimer, but I need to be truthful because you're not going to see what's really going on, and I'm going to take it out on you in other ways.
Right. I agree, and I think that's what the premise is just being honest, and that's where being good comes into play. When you're being thought-provoking in how you speak, when you're being honest about conversations, and when that person can tell, like, nah, he's just communicating about whatever it is, then yes, if somebody's feelings does get hurt, it's not because it was something demeaning was said or there was disrespect. Because I totally agree. Somebody's feelings can be hurt, but they could be like, yeah, that person didn't disrespect me. I'm just hurt because of maybe the conversation. Yeah. But this is a different type of hurt when you're disrespected, when somebody's foul or they're coming at you a certain way or they're doing things, subsiding what they're saying. It's like, nah, you're coming at me crazy right now, which can hurt people's feelings, subsiding what's being said. But when that gets alleviated and it's just more so like, it's just what this person told me, it was kind of hurtful. Subsiding any disrespect or nothing like that, well, then it's like, well, we can't control that. All we can do is be honest in regards to how we express things and communicate effectively. And again, if it hurts somebody's feelings, it wasn't within malice. So it's like, I can't control if your feelings are hurt. Yeah. If I say something genuinely. Yeah. And you just leave it at that. And a mature person who's the recipient of that should understand that. They just have to understand that their feelings are hurt. Sure. But not the person. Because there are sometimes people say stuff and they're trying to get off what they need to say, but they're also trying to hurt that person's feelings. Yeah. It's a duality within it. But if we just parallel it and it's like, no, this person was just trying to express something, but he or she wasn't trying to hurt somebody's feelings or my feelings. With maturity, we can usurp what it is and be like, oh, no, I'm just hurt because of what was told to me. And I think that's what matters. So
the question I want to get into and I'll answer first is, do you earn more respect by agreeing more with people? And I genuinely don't think you do. I think you put yourself in a situation to where you're always going to be that yes man, to where the most outlandish thing that someone could say, you would just be in the background and be like, yeah, that's fine. That makes sense. And I know a lot of people want to be the guy that, I want to be the one around that everyone kind of goes to and that I want to be liked. And I just struggle with not having friends. So I'm going to let certain things fly so that way I could just build a group of people to be around, go out with, go get drinks with, go have lunch with, do things with, so that way I'm not alone all the time. I think the issue with that in earning respect is it's not the respect that you're earning. It's more of the disrespect you're doing for yourself. Because then you're looking at things that you were never okay with doing. A year, 2 years, 5 years from now, you're looking back and you're like, bro, I got myself into certain situations that I would have never gotten into. Absolutely. And I know I say that a lot, bro, but it all ties back together because if you're being nice and you can't simply talk to a homie, we'll start with a homie first, we even get into a woman. If you can't simply talk to your homie and be like, look, bro, I really don't appreciate when this happens, and you let it keep going, the respect, regardless if it's on wanting it on your end or wanting it on their end, is never going to get better because of the fact that you don't speak up. And I think, to back your point, you can't speak up if all you are worried about is being liked.
They don't parallel.
No.
They don't parallel. And man, like, I think the reality is too, with maturity, you realize like people who stand their ground, and if you know this is an honorable person too, people that stand their ground are usually the most trustworthy people for real.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? People that don't care about fitting in.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the people that can be trusted. It's the person that is, they agree with everything. They go with the flow with everything. There's never any pushback. They let people disrespect them, or they just let anything go. That's a person to where it's like, now you can grow, but at this very point in time, that's not somebody that I would say is somebody that's not necessarily trustworthy, but they're just not worthy of just necessarily being around, because again, there's nothing to which somebody can say, you stand on this.
Right.
Or you have these principles. It's more so like if it comes to just if we just use an archetype of a person, this person that just lets anything fly, it's like, well, you're just like jelly. Like you're just like Jello. You just let anything flow. To whereas with this person, he or she has principles and morals. They're not going to allow that to fly. They're not going to go for that. They're not going to allow passes on that. But they're a principled person. They're an honorable person. Like they're a caring person. That's the person to where it's like, even though there might be people that don't like them, people that have real principles and morals would know like, no, that's actually a good person for real. That's a great person. That's somebody who's reliable. That's somebody that I know their character. That's somebody to whereas if somebody says something about them that sounds off, it's like, nah, that doesn't sound right. Or what did you do to make them respond like that? Because you know them. For the other archetype of a person, it's just like, well, he or she just goes for anything. So if you say anything about that person, it's up for grabs on what it is because they just concede to everything. So I think people with principles and morals understand people that aren't liked but are principled people. Those are honorable people. And truthfully, one has to be okay with not being liked. When you take presidents on standing 10 toes and, having principles and morals and values, you're going to have to be okay with not being liked. Because certain things you're going to be like, no, I'm not with that. Or I'm not okay with that. Or we're not doing that. Or it's no passes for that. Or stop talking like that. Or we're not going there. Or this is not what... When you take stances like that, everybody's not going to like you. And you're going to have to be cool with that. But you have to know when you look in the mirror, you're like, nah, I'm moving off principles. I'm moving off morals. I'm moving off values. And everybody's not going to align with that. But cool, I don't care. There's a level of not caring you have to have.
Yeah.
In a good way. Not in an abrasive pushing off way, but in a way to where it's like, nah, I'm moving principled. And if somebody else can't see that and they don't align with moving principled, then so be it.
Yeah.
That's just what it is.
I mean, I again, bro, there are some points in there that I want to kind of dive into a little bit deeper. And, I think the biggest one is the fact that you said, nice people are just, they're scared, genuinely. Like, they're scared
People
to
don't
stand
respect
out.
that.
Right. They're scared to stand out and really see, like, the questions they would ask themselves is, am I good enough to be so-and-so's friend, boyfriend, husband, if I was to stand on the principles that I have for myself? That I genuinely believe that are the right things to do or the right things to move, are those things that they're going to accept. And I think, again, we get into this weird staple in this mindset of, does this cost or does the ROI on this look and make sense by maybe cutting 2 of these things out? 2 is already a lot to get the girl, to get the situation, to get to the party scene, to get a homie. And it would be so crazy to go 8 years and, dial it back to where I was at 8 years ago, to just sit there and tell myself that, like, bro, maybe you'll be lonely for a little bit. Yeah, it'll be a little dark. You'll walk your path, which, everyone does at a certain point. It doesn't matter. But imagine if you would have done this 8 years ago and just moved with, hey, these are my principles. I know that I'm not shifting from this. I'm going to see what type of energy I attract. It's like with anything, bro. You attract the things that you are doing for yourself.
Very true.
And then it's conflicting because then you get to the point of, well, behind closed doors, or when I'm praying, when I'm reading, when I'm journaling, I'm writing all these things down that I would never let happen or be okay with. But then you're going back to those friends, you're going back to those situations that you're just excusing because you don't want to be in the dark.
Yeah. And again, it's all an internal thing. So one has to just be okay with that. Like there comes a time and a place, if somebody is really taking a principled, if they're aiming to live as principled as possible, you just have to understand there's certain things that just come with that.
Yeah.
Like everybody's not gonna like you. They're gonna be people that might think that you're mean, or might think that you're stern, or might not understand your angles for things. But other people who are principled will see that and be like, no, those are characteristics of somebody who I want to align with. I know that that's somebody that's trustworthy. I know that that's somebody who I can rely on. They'll be able to see that. It's just like, let's say if we speak sports, a coach seeing a player that takes initiative, and they're like, oh, I'm seeing certain signs. That's the player that's going to be the head coach on the field or on the court. They're going to see certain things and be like, I like that in you. While a player might see that and be like, I don't like him. He's too hard on us. We're his teammates. We're his peers. Why is he speaking to us like that? Why is he on us like that? And the coach sees that and it's like, nah, that's a winner right there. You know what I mean? Or other players who are also winners, they're going to see that and be like, nah, bro, we on the same type of time. Let's work out with each other. Let's get better with each other, because it's alignment. So there are certain things that you just have to be okay with understanding, like, bro, everybody's not going to like you. And the fact is, you don't want everybody to like you. Truthfully, if you know you're moving principled and you're moving with real morals and values, you don't want everybody to like you, because if everybody likes you, it's just like, well, you don't take a stance on certain things, or you sway to the trajectory of where the conversation is going, or if it becomes, if everybody is saying they agree with this, are you just going to be like, you agree, or you're going to be like, hey, look, while I can respect that you all have your own opinion, this is my stance on this. And say it in a very thought-provoking, non-disrespectful, but principled, standing on 10 toes type of way.
Right.
There's ways to do that to where it's like, hey, look, you all can feel how you feel, but this is how I feel, because it's from a principled standpoint. If, for example, if somebody's saying something like, you know, we could use any example. There's a plethora of things we could use for an example. And if 10 people are saying like, no, we're okay with this and we believe this should be happening, it's like, nah, I take a stance on this is the way that it should be.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And you have to be okay with people being like, well, you're closed-minded, and it's like, no, I'm just principled. And I have morals and values, and I have cares. And if you all aren't able to see that, and it's just this whole, it's okay, and just like, well, you're just flip-floppy. And I don't subscribe to that. So that's you.
It's wishy-washy.
Yeah. And one has to be okay with that. And we can use a multitude of situations and conversations to where that can happen. But it's about, are you okay with being principled and being like, hey, look, y'all can think that, but I'm standing on principles and values. And if you don't like me, I really don't care. It's still all love, but I don't care.
Right.
I don't care.
To go into that deeper, bro, and I know the last time we were here sitting talking about this, you took the time to share a personal story about where you were at with things, right? And I think that was, really cool to see, and for viewers and people that are watching this to understand what that looks like in real time. And the question that I want, hopefully both of us to answer, but I'll kind of lead it, is, what are some things that you've been avoiding in terms of the being nice, and like, what are some things that you've been struggling? And, to be openly transparent, I feel like there are a multitude of things that I've let slide in my lifestyle and in my life when it comes to the being nice part. I think there are areas in my life where I've kind of kept it cool and composed that I should have, it sounds bad, but where I should have taking it into the ground on a different level, coming out of respect and everything, and trusting the fact that how I've built myself up from the time that, I moved out to Arizona to now, trusting that I would move with respect and communicate in a manner that would be like, no, that's not cool. Like, we're not doing that. For sure. And I think in these moments of looking back and, and I've been doing this actually the most recently, the last couple of days, I've been really diving in deep on how can I grow from the areas in the last few months that I have seen and noticed in myself have shifted. I won't say in a negative way, but in a way that could get better. And the biggest one is the nice component. I have let things slide, bro, where I'm just like, I probably shouldn't, or I should have spent more time at least putting more energy and effort into certain things that have transpired, rather than being like, you know what, I don't really care about this because it doesn't even align with my lifestyle or my life. But in reality, it does, because it's situations that I'm surrounding myself around. It's certain things that I'm doing in my day-to-day that will play a part at some time in my life, to where I'm looking back and I'm like, man, I don't know why I don't feel good today. Like, I feel tense. I feel frustrated. I feel just like I'm on edge right now and I'm about to pop off on somebody and it might be the wrong person when all I had to do was just have a conversation or write it down or handle it or take it completely out of my day-to-day life. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think to bring all this to an end, man, it's very important as men to take the step of, okay, I know that I'm being too nice or I'm being nice as a man in these certain areas. The action item is writing it down and figuring out solutions for it. Because we can sit here and talk about this for 20, 30 minutes, right? And walk out of here and be like, okay, cool, what's the next episode for next week? Or we could sit here, talk about it, go our individual ways, write down what we're going to do and attack it.
Absolutely.
And I think both have to be true. You got to acknowledge it. The action plan has to come because the action plan doesn't come. Obviously, you're not going to grow from it. Yeah. And you have to understand what the plan, there has to be a plan, bro. This stuff can't just be, I'm going to keep it in the back of my head. I'm going to keep it in the notes app and I'll get to it from time to time. No, it's got to be something consistent. Yeah. You know? Yeah. So, with that being said, man, like what are some things that you, I would say, would call out in that would reflect and apply to your type of lifestyle?
As far as, like, what exactly?
Like, in terms of having certain things that you're working on, turning it into an action plan and seeing how that transpires.
Well, on the topic of what we're talking about, I think more so, like, and I think I mentioned it before, but, like, I think, and this comes down to, like, environment, too. But I think I've had to, like, realize, like, in lieu of just considering me to be a good man, like, I understand, again, the reason why I'm going to say I'm prefacing environment is because certain environments permit for certain reactive methods to certain things. So, again, in lieu of being from Chicago and now being here in Arizona, there's certain precautions that I take in regards to reacting to certain things because I understand environment and I understand also people and environment. People come from different environments. People aren't used to certain situations. So I'm saying that to say, like, in how I react to certain things, like, and this stems to, like, where what you were speaking on. I've, like, understood, or, like, I don't want to say never a pass, but I've, like, let certain things in certain instances slide because, for one, I understand the situation of maybe people and also environment. And also I'm looking at it like, this isn't really a big deal. Well, it's not a big deal. It's like, if I were to respond in a certain way, it could seem like, oh, you're really harsh,
right,
or like you're really, like, stern. And it's like, I'm giving grace to the environment because if I were to really respond in a certain way, it could seem like jarring in a sense of, like, oh, wow. Like, when it's like, well, that's my natural response. And it's not a bad thing. It's just a principled way to respond in it. But being in a certain environment and understanding people in certain environments, it's like, well, I'm not going to respond that way because I know you all wouldn't be susceptible to that type of response.
Yeah.
Or it might throw you off. Or I'm also looking at it like, and it's not that big, you know what I mean?
That's so crazy you say that, bro. Yeah,
so
yeah,
that's,
I get
like,
what you're saying.
And you understand what I'm saying.
No,
you know,
I do.
It's a way in which I think I contextualize things at this point in life based on the environment. So
yeah.
I would say that.
Bro, that's so crazy because I think it's real for certain people to have this idea of, I know the type of person that I can expect myself to be in certain environments. And I know for a fact that there's not a lot of people out here based off the experience, based off of the things I've seen, based off the things I've gone through in my life to have a reaction that's going to be like, first off, he's coming from a place of, I genuinely just care.
For sure.
And I genuinely just am a good person.
Absolutely.
So you're going to see whether it's action or whether it's words said, you're going to see the words or the action, but you're not going to see behind it why that got to that point.
Absolutely.
And
for sure.
That's a man, and that's a person operating off of not being nice, but being aware.
Absolutely. And principled.
Aware and principled. And
principled.
I get that. So I get that, bro, because I think that for the longest time, I always told myself, I don't know if I would ever find people that would understand things like I do and receiving, whether it's criticism, whether it's certain moves that are being made, whether it's, certain things being stepped back from, because I know what that's like based off of sports, based off of things that I've encountered in life, based off of relationships. And I know that for the most part, it was never personal.
Yeah.
But it was to the point of there was growth that was behind
sure,
all of
for
it.
sure,
It was a certain level of matter of growth that needed to happen, which caused certain things to transpire the way they did. So I get it, bro. It's a crazy thing to think about, and only a select few will understand what that looks like, because you got to be cognizant of, yes, how people are going to take it. And I get it. I don't think most people would know how to take that. So it's like, why would I even go through that? Because you're putting more energy into doing that rather than just being like, I mean, I'm just gonna let that slide.
Just whatever.
Right.
And in layman's terms, it's really just like, it's not a threat.
Yep. No, that's serious.
That's really what it is. It's like, it's not a threat. And not to say if something is a threat, you operate it in a certain way, but it's more so if we align threat with no, this makes sense for me to address this type of way, then it's like, well, okay, now let me address it this type of way. But if you know, like, man, this is not really, this is small fish to a giant. Like, when you look at certain things like that, it's almost like, it's not letting stuff slide or giving a pass. It's just really like not caring. Because it's just like, for one, the recipient probably won't understand it. And then it's just like, in them not understanding it, they'll see a side of you to where they're like, oh my gosh, like, what, like, wow, that was a lot. And it's like, nah, I'm just being principled in my response, and you're not used to that. So now you're interpreting it a certain way. But again, we are able to understand it and have understanding for what each other is saying, because we have a high sports background.
Yeah.
And the reason why I say that is we come from an environment of coaches. Coaches will say certain things, and it's like, yo, you either better get it, or if you don't get it, you're just not gonna play.
Right.
Either you're gonna understand what I'm telling you, or when you play with other high elite players that'll tell you something, either you're gonna like have a camaraderie through this, or you're gonna play or not play based on how you respond to high level players or coaches in unison. So if you're not a recipient to understanding, like, yo, this person just says something, or this coach just says something in a stern way because it's about winning and he cares about me, he's on me because he knows my game, let me shift, or let me be a recipient to the information that he gave me. If you don't do that, well, then get acquainted with the bench. Get acquainted with the bench, because that's what it's going to be. So we have that understanding of hearing things and being like, okay, irregardless of what the tone is, what's being said.
For sure.
And not being like, oh, I feel a way about what you said. And, well, oh my gosh, is that how you really feel? It's like, nah, okay, I see what you're saying. And you said it in a certain way. And based on the context of who you are, I get what you're saying. Cool. All right, coach, I got you. Word. I got it. So we have an understanding from a totally different place. If somebody doesn't have a linear place to where they can garnish understanding, that's when they'll hear something and be like, hey, I don't like how you said that. Or I feel a way about that. And it's like, yo, I didn't even say anything crazy to you for real. You just don't like the sternness that I have. So you're looking at the sternness and you feel a way. Look at my words. If there were no disrespect, forget if it was stern or not. Look at what I'm saying, or look at what's coming behind it as care. Or I'm trying to get you to be aware of something, or I'm trying to open your mind to something because I'm seeing you do stuff and you're either putting yourself in harm's way or you're putting other people in harm's way. Take what I'm telling you. So again, we have a perspective based on years of like seeing this stuff. Most people, I'm gonna be honest, bro, in this line, and I'll leave it with this, most people are just soft, man.
Yeah, bro.
You know what I mean? Most people are soft. And I mean, I'm not speaking on women because men and women are different, but just speaking generally, most people are soft. And so when they hear things, they'll be taken aback based on maybe a tone or based on how stern something is. And it's like, well, if you weren't disrespected, forget the tone. Look at what was being said and interpret and internalize what was being said.
Yeah.
So there are layers to it. But again, just in layman's terms, a lot of people we live in a very soft, coddled environment now.
We do, bro. And I think, again, to point it out, it makes things very easy for us as guys, me and you, I'm speaking on, to look at things and be like, man, I already know where you came from, or like what situation you've been through. So I think in terms of like the world of being soft and the people in general nowadays of being soft, it's easy to call out and look at and just be like, whatever, man. Because, and I'll end with this, and I know it's probably not one of the like more inspiring or motivational endings that we've done, but it's a real ending. It's like, I can take it to a place where I can humble somebody.
For sure.
Like I can. For sure. There's a difference from disrespecting and humbling somebody. And I know I'm a big believer and advocate of to play, like you should never have to play God. But there's been specific moments in the time that I've been alive as a 29-year-old, bro, to where I'm like, I could easily take it to a place where I will respectfully humble you.
Yeah, for sure.
Like I will dig into the things that I've noticed or I've peeped for the last whatever and take it to that place if I really need to. Mm-hmm. But then I get in the back of my head thinking like, but for what reason?
Absolutely.
Because
that's grace.
You're not going to live. You're not going to live through that. You're going to see that and be like, oh, well, that you said that the wrong way. Yeah. And it's like, again, you're not listening. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I get it, bro. And I see you in that because regardless of how much that there could be work done and maybe there could be opportunity of the situation at hand, taking it a certain way, it's not worth losing energy and time on. And because we're all adults, bro. We're all adults moving to the same type of flow, to the same type of, like, we all get up, we all have the same amount of time to go, we all use the restroom, we all go to bed, we all eat, like we all have to do very foundational things. So why am I having to waste my time telling you or doing things in a situation to get you to understand this when I could be doing a better job on my end I'm going to go this way.
Absolutely.
And a lot of people get mad at men nowadays that are moving the right way with the right intention of like, well, y'all just have these standards and maybe they're unrealistic or like, and it's just like, are they unrealistic or if it's not that, it's just boom.
Yeah, it's principle.
That's what I'm saying. I would say that's not even with women it's just with everyone. If it's not that certain situation, it's just, okay, I'm going to go this way. Yeah, we'll stay in contact. We'll, do what we have to do. It could be a job. I didn't align with that. I stayed there for a year. I'm going 6 months, 2 weeks. It's everything, bro. Yeah. So I would say if you're a dude out there, really dive into the fact of know what it means to be a good man first before you start throwing out compliments, throwing out resources, throwing out, advice, making people feel seen for things that they shouldn't be seen on, they should be corrected on. And have the conversation of, is this coming from a place of being respectful and kind, or is this coming from a place of, I'm just going to be a nice person today and I'm going to try to just tell everyone what they want to hear and make their lives be basically a dream that they're never going to wake up from.
Absolutely.
So what do you have to end with, bro?
Man, I agree, man. I think speaking to men, I think there's a I would just say this, man. A lot of guys need to really look within internally. And I say that to say, like, what caliber of a man do you want to be? And when you look in the mirror, are you okay with what you see internally? Now, we all have work to do. Amen. That's just a reality. Amen. As long as we're alive, we need to constantly be growing and developing. But in that path, do you look in the mirror and say, nah, I'm glad with the man that I am. I know that I stand on principles and morals, and like I value and you value the values that you have, and you stand on it. And you can look at yourself and be like, hey, look, if people don't like me about it, respectfully, I don't care. Because I know I'm moving from a place of as righteous as possible, as well as I'm moving from a principled place with morals and dignity and integrity. And there are certain things that I'm not going to fold for, and there are certain things that I'm not going to align with because they're not integral, or it's not part of having dignity, and it's not uplifting to God. So like, again, I say that to say internally men should look within and be like, when you look in the mirror, or when you're getting out the shower and you're brushing your teeth, and when you wake up, or when you're getting ready, when you see yourself, are you dodging the mirror, or are you looking at yourself like, nah, I'm becoming the man that I want to be? And that's only an internal thing that one can do for themselves. Nobody else can do that for you. For sure. And if you know that you're moving waywardly or just being Mr. Nice Guy, or you can change it. You can change it. You can be principled, but be okay with knowing like
people aren't going to always like you for that. And it's not because you're not a good person. It's because you're shaking up things that they have going on within that probably aren't okay, but you're making them look at the mirror and face the mirror. But again, essentially looking internally and be like, who am I right now, and who do I want to become, and am I on that path, and are you okay with the man that you see in the mirror? Because at the end of the day, we all live with ourselves.
Yeah.
Like, yes, we can link up with our boys, we can link up with women, we can link up with other people, we can go out to eat, we can go out. But when you go to sleep at night, when you take a shower, when you're brushing your teeth, when you're driving in a car, when you're just with yourself, you know how you feel.
For sure.
You have to live with you. So in lieu of you living with yourself, how do you feel about yourself? And only one can do that for themselves. And that's what's most important. So again, I know that was a little long-winded, but when one looks in the mirror, you need to be okay with who you are or who you're becoming. And if not, just make that 180. Make that shift. Because you can become. Anybody can become. But make that 180 if you don't feel like you're on that right path or you see something that you don't like. Not a 360 because you turn back around. A 180 is a complete turnaround. So just make that 180. That's what I would say.
It's a lonely road, man.
Yeah.
Y'all keep going, keep being, and make sure that you're being intentional with the things that you're doing, things that you're saying, and the people that you're around, bro. So, my guy.
Love, bro. Always.
Good talking to y'all. We'll see you and catch y'all next time.
Yeah.